years, represented the Board of Supervisors on the retirement board, expressing more and more concern.
I'll jump in right there, Norman. We were at that meeting, and I will say this much about Supervisor Smith. It was the first time I saw any board member at the retirement board swim against the current. Usually all the votes are, 10 to nothing. It's all unanimous. Everything is always unanimous. It's always get along to get along. They're always unanimous. There was a vote on Peter Chen's contract and the RFP for a future contract where Supervisor Smith actually was the one dissenting vote. That is the first time I've ever seen that on the retirement board.
I cannot find Peter Chen listed with the Secretary of State in the business section.
I wonder if he has a Series 7 license.
I cannot find his firm. I've wondered how long Mr. Chen has provided these services to Mendocino County. I spoke to Al Beltrami. Al said, well, he was here when I got here. Well, Al came to the county many years ago, but who was here before he? That's Irene Lang, who was a treasurer tax collector prior to Tim Knudsen. And she has been here since the beginning of time. And I asked her, and he was here then too.
Yes, he's been here since the mid. That's one thing that again, an admission that was made on the record.
Better go back into the 70s, not the 80s.
I'm so glad we're starting to videotape these retirement board meetings. Tim Knudsen admitted on the record that Peter Chen was hired in the mid-1980s, and he's been basically working without a contract since then. And I'm going to ask Jay this question because Jay was recently hired as an outside vendor at the sheriff's office. What did you have to go through for a lousy, I don't know, was it $10,000 contract or something like this?
Actually, I think it's less than $5,000. It was just to help out the sheriff's department
All right,
with their networks.
So let me frame this. For a lousy $5,000 contract.
Yeah, there's about a 14-page contract.
For a 14-page contract. So where is Peter Chen's 14-page contract? As a supervisor, I will ask you, Norman, what is the county's policies and procedures for procurement of outside vendors?
It's extensive. And when the Board of Supervisors hires them, and most of that would go through the now CEO. The retirement board hires Peter Chen, not the Board of Supervisors. What is their policy? What's fascinating to me is that when Merrill Lynch and Price Waterhouse wanted to come in and contend to offer pension fund management services, they couldn't even get in the door. They were not welcomed. They were not told, well, not this year, but next year. There's never been open bidding.
Well, there's never been any kind of reception for new ideas. 4 years ago, almost to the, I think it was actually in May, 4 years ago in May, I submitted a 13-page report to the retirement board. I think I was called yesterday, and what was it, a egotistical blowhard. I came with all humility, with all modesty before the retirement board 4 years ago in May, and as a investment professional, I submitted concrete recommendations for hedging our portfolio for an imminent collapse in the dollar, for an imminent credit crisis, all of which happened. Not only was I not acknowledged, I wasn't thanked, I wasn't acknowledged, I actually saw one of the two co-chairmen of the retirement board actually take that report and throw it in the trash can before I left the room.
Let's get to the real nut of the big issue. Why did the Board of Supervisors have to go out and borrow $95 million in 2001? It is only because they were so much in arrears of their contribution to the retirement fund. The retirement fund now has about 800 retirees drawing against the fund. Probably on average they're getting around $1,000 a month. That's about $1 million a month of outflow. On top of that, with great generosity and with much appreciation, especially for retirees between the ages of 55 and 65 before Medicare kicks in, there is a fully paid health program that is running about $500 per employee per month. I'm sure the employees of KZYX would love this kind of a deal. And when you add up that kind of money, take a look at the draw on the principal of the fund, and combine that with the losses that you're speaking of in 1 month, 19 million, and you can multiply that all the way back to October. The real issue here is that the county, let's just take this. Let's take this thing apart and look at it in pieces. The Board of Supervisors has an obligation to make an annual contribution out of its general fund to the employee retirement fund. For some years, it did not do that. Is it in the budget this year to do that? Is there, again, a new debt due the retirement board by the Board of Supervisors? But by 2001, it had built up to $95 million. 20 million of that or so was included in a previous pension obligation bond deal, and for reasoning that I've argued against and certainly don't understand, they were getting 8% from the Board of Supervisors, who didn't want to pay that much on not paying it, like that was rental, and I asked the retirement board, go back to the Board of Supervisors, negotiate it. 8 is too high. Interest rates are falling down. But no, the they didn't want to do that. They wanted the cash. The board went out and borrowed $95 million. They say,